Hello and welcome to another episode of RGU Talk. I'm Julia and today we'll be talking about what it really means to be a sustainable business. We'll also hear more about RGU's exciting new master's degree in Business and Management with Sustainability. On the podcast today, I'm joined by Nicola. Nicola, I wonder if you could introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your research and your career.
Hi, Julia. Well, I'm a lecturer here at the Aberdeen Business School and I'm based in the Department of Business and Management. So currently I'm involved in various modules on the undergraduate and postgraduate programs where I have involvement in modules such as business perspectives and international management. And I'm also supervising postgrad students as they work on their dissertations. So I joined RGU last year after completing my PhD, and my research interests are focused on the changing relationship between business and society. So my PhD thesis focused on this by investigating organisations and if they're involved in some kind of misconduct. So I was looking at, do these organisations then incur any negative impacts on their financial and non-financial performance? And building on this, with the focus on this changing relationship between business and society, my research takes a stakeholder-focused approach and analyses the potential of various stakeholder groups to punish organisations that are found to have been involved in various instances of misconduct. So my research also looks at the non-market element of strategy and assesses how organisations use their corporate social responsibility and corporate political activity to improve performance and perhaps also act as a form of reputational insurance where misconduct occurs. And as my research interests are focused on the concept of responsible business, my role here aligns really well with the core ethos of RGU as it shifts to incorporate a more responsible business element into the business school curriculum. And this is why I'm involved in the production of the new sustainability module that will start here in September.
Great, thank you, Nicola. I'm very excited for our podcast today because I know I say to you every time we talk, I'm always fascinated when you talk about sustainability. So I guess to get us started, we hear the term sustainability used increasingly across so many areas of our life and work. But I wonder if you could tell us what sustainability actually means in terms of business.
Well, it's interesting that you asked that because I think it's actually quite a difficult question to answer. Sustainability can have many different meanings and it can be interpreted differently as well by stakeholders and also depending on the type of industry that they're involved in. So in general, when we talk about sustainability, there's an immediate connection to the natural environment and reducing our impact, reducing climate change and perhaps talking about the path to reaching net zero. But this is not the whole of it. There are many factors involved in the sustainability discussion. So I think probably the most recognisable explanation of sustainability comes from the Brundtland Commission report that talks about our common future. So where development must meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And building on this, a lot of organisations are now thinking about how to continue to meet demand for products and services in a way that does not impede on social and environmental issues. So one approach that organisations are following is the triple bottom line. So this is where we would account for profit, obviously, but also for planet and people. So this is more commonly termed the 3 Ps. And this is where organisations of all sizes and different sectors are beginning to incorporate a more responsible agenda across their operations. So a move away from a more profit-focused approach to business and to broaden out their strategy to account for their impact on all stakeholders and the natural environment. But there are many conversations around the concept of sustainability and how it can be thought of really as an umbrella term. So very much like corporate social responsibility and how this has many different definitions and meanings attached to it. So previously, when you think of a more traditional business approach, being sustainable would have meant that the business is financially sustainable. Thinking more along the lines that it has sustained its approach through the good and bad times. Now, sustainable and sustainability, it means not just only meeting financial obligations, but also social and ecological obligations as well. And I think organisations are opening up more and more to this perspective. And of course, this is being very much driven by what has been deemed as the grand societal challenges of our time, such as, climate change and income inequality. And as organisations are looking to implement a more responsible business agenda, this is now impacting on our curriculum in the university sector. So business structure and operations are changing, and with this, there's new roles that are being created. So our graduates now need to be prepared for that and take advantages of the many opportunities that are now becoming available. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. That's so interesting, Nicola. I love just hearing you talk about it. And I also really like the concept around the common future. That's a really good way to look at it. Just moving on slightly, and you might have somewhat answered this in what you said, but how can businesses embed sustainability into their organizational strategy?
Well, again, I think this is a difficult question to answer because, like I said, sustainability it's got many different meanings, and this is very much driven by the particular sector that businesses operate in. A common misconception about sustainability and corporate social responsibility is that organizations would contribute to charity, and that if organizations are involved in some kind of philanthropic activity, then they're being a responsible business. But now being responsible or sustainable means that the senior management teams are having to implement changes across their operations and maybe their supply chains. And we see this now as lots of organizations are pledging to meet net zero targets. So maybe it would be about reducing waste or changing particular materials across their supply chains. And beyond that, so it's more about as well getting away from solely focusing on just the environmental issues and pledging to implement new practices that encourage a more inclusive workforce, perhaps maybe implementing a living wage, or only pledging to work with ethical suppliers. So an example I like to use here when I'm talking about this to students would be the garment industry. So we see huge investment in reducing environmental impact, where these organizations are talking about, using less water, developing new materials that are sustainable and so on. But there is the social side of this as well that often gets overlooked, such as the use of sweatshops in developing countries. So while organizations are beginning to implement a sustainable agenda, there's still a huge amount of work that needs to be done. So in a roundabout way, there's not really an easy answer to that. It all depends on the circumstances of the organizations are in. Like I said, the sector that they're working in, but so long as they're starting to do that and getting that conversation going, I think it's important.
Yeah, and like you say, it's interesting how what that question changes. So what does it mean to be sustainable and responsible has changed over time and continues to change as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And it means, like I said, it means different things to different people. And I think the awareness for the general public is growing as well. Maybe 10 years ago, we didn't know there was no conversations around what net zero was. And it was all about being socially responsible. But now there's a concerted effort across all stakeholder groups, not just from organizations, but from the governmental side as well and with NGOs. And we now realize the importance of reducing our impact on the natural environment, but also having a more inclusive workforce as well.
Yeah, and I guess as part of this new degree, this is what students will be learning about as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any tips for business leaders that want to improve their sustainable business practices?
Yeah, some maybe. I think that for a sustainable business strategy to succeed, it needs to be embedded across the entire organization. And all stakeholders need to be involved and knowledgeable about what areas of their businesses are incorporating a responsible business agenda. And as I mentioned, there are so many new opportunities now being created in terms of new jobs. And we want our graduates to be at the forefront of this new era of sustainable and responsible business, which is why we embed topics in our business school curricula so that when our students are on the job market, they then have the capability and know-how on these important issues. So with the new course on business and sustainability that are starting in September, this will be developed now to give our students the skills and knowledge to succeed and indeed lead in a responsible business organisation, so that maybe we're imparting them with the knowledge that then they can go into these organizations and be the ones that are bringing in these new ideas and strategies to be more responsible and be more sustainable within their organizations.
I wonder if there's anything more you could tell us about the new master's degree and who it might be suitable for.
Okay, well, my role with this is going to be focused on the module for managing for global sustainability. So with the new program, like I said, that starts in September, it's going to be very much focused on learning and understanding what it means to be sustainable and socially responsible. So like I said, for my part, with the Managing for Global Sustainability module, this is going to cover topics like the business case for sustainability, what are the different types of strategies there are that organizations can pursue. We're going to be looking at understanding the role of stakeholders like such as the government and the regulatory space and its impact on business. And we'll also look at the circular economy and business model innovation. So along with this is going to be coupled with more traditional areas of strategy that are also central to business schools. And then the new sustainability element will add a new scope to this learning experience. And this degree would be open to anybody, really. It's not really restricted to those who perhaps would only have a business background, maybe with their undergraduate experience. So most students, when they're completing their postgraduate studies, they're looking to build on their undergraduate experience and add another dimension to their qualifications. So they're not necessarily going to do something that exactly like they did with their undergraduate course. They're looking to expand and get more experience. So maybe if students are looking to gain new qualifications, if they've already been in industry and they want to go for a promotion or transfer across to a different role, there'd be lots of opportunities for people like that.
That's brilliant, Nicola. It sounds so interesting. And just my final question, you mentioned before that there's exciting new jobs around this area. I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about what the job prospects might be from undertaking the MSc Business and Management with Sustainability.
Yes, of course. I think this is a really interesting time for our graduates who are looking to pursue a career in social responsibility or sustainability, or it's more commonly termed now ESG, so economic, social and governance. So you'll see a lot of jobs that are being advertised like for ESG analysts, CSR coordinators. There's lots of different roles there. So you could work for an analyst and it's providing information and compiling reports for your organization. CSR coordinators could be looking at supporting projects in areas that are involved in maybe supply chain mapping and monitoring. We can go a little bit outside of that and look at maybe there could be opportunities in public relations and marketing, but this is not really the best use for CSR and sustainability because we really don't want to advertise that as it being just a PR term or a marketing opportunity. Our graduates might want to get involved in communications campaigns, so working with stakeholders to their particular organization where they're both internal and external, where perhaps they might be working with their partners to develop strategy programs that seek to enhance the corporate social responsibility policies and practices and embed them across their operations. So there's really, really interesting and exciting opportunities coming up. And because this is so important right now across all areas of the economy, there's lots and lots of opportunities that are beginning to open up for our graduates.
Yeah, it sounds like it's definitely an exciting time to be looking at this area of business.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you, Nicola, for taking the time to talk to RGU Talk today.
Thank you, Julia.
There are many benefits to studying our Masters in Business and Management with Sustainability. You will develop the skills and knowledge to be at the forefront of an increasingly sustainable business environment. You will also benefit from a dual qualification from the CMI on completion of the degree, the choice of flexible study modes, and the opportunity to align your studies to your own career aspirations by undertaking a capstone project. You can find out even more information about studying our new degree at rgu.ac.uk/business-sustainability. And remember to follow us on social media. See you next time.